I never tell a student, hey, you shouldn't study that, but it's more of, hey, have you thought about this? One of my favorite testimonials that I have on my website was actually from her. And she said they went to go visit a school I recommended. And she said, I can totally see why you recommended this for my son. It's like you saw the inside of our brain. And just really connecting with people to know what they are looking for and helping them find those places that they didn't even know existed.
Before we get started with the show, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
One of our sponsors is Recon Marketing. Recon is the fastest growing social media marketing agency in Colorado. Recon focuses on becoming an extension of your business while providing social media management, review management, and digital marketing. Recon Marketing, putting you on the radar. Our next sponsor is Atmos Planning. Atmos Planning is changing the way business owners and real estate investors are served by the financial industry. Their website is atmosplanning.com, atmosplanning.com. Our next sponsor is Planet Duct. Planet Duct offers astronomical air duct cleaning with the most powerful vacuum trucks in Colorado. They have taken air duct cleaning to a new intergalactic level that is far more powerful and proactive than anything on the market in El Paso County and southern Colorado. Sheath Underwear. Sheath Underwear has a pouch for the boys. It is everyday underwear for every man. 100% money back on the first pair if you don't like it. Visit sheathunderwear.com and enter the code COSBP20 to get 20% off your order. That stands for Colorado Springs Business Podcast. That's our specific code. So now let's get on with the show. Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, the #1 podcast in Colorado Springs. My name is Andrew Hasley and I am the host of the show. Today I'm sitting here with Allison Grandits with Grand Fit Great Counseling?
Educational consulting.
Educational consulting. Yeah. So how long have you been doing this? What got you into it?
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Andrew. I really appreciate you allowing me to be here today.
Yeah.
So I started my business in August of 2018 after 4 years of working as a public school counselor. As a school counselor, I did a little bit of college counseling, but it was definitely not my main focus. And I wanted to transition into doing what I loved and helping people with the college planning process.
Okay. So sweet. We'll get more into that in this episode, but first we're going to roll the intro music and then we'll get started.
Okay.
This is a show where we have real conversations with entrepreneurs and business owners who are mostly in Colorado Springs doing things in the community of Colorado Springs. So you said you started working for a school and you wanted to branch out and do your own thing?
Yes. So I went to college and got my master's in professional school counseling after getting my bachelor's in psychology. And I started working at a large public high school in Metro Atlanta. Okay. I had 450 students on my caseload and was responsible for making sure they graduated and also with their mental health needs. And the mental health piece was really overwhelming for me. I had students who had to leave school because of eating disorders, drug overdoses, and mental health challenges. And the straw that broke the camel's back was when I had a student die by suicide on my caseload. And I realized in that year, which was year 4, that I couldn't continue in this role, but that I still wanted to help teenagers and I wanted to transition into college counseling.
Okay, sweet. 1 second. I'm going to scoot this over to the left just a little bit so that it's you want to switch over to that other camera real quick? Yeah. All right. That should be perfect. All right. Okay. Yeah. That's so that happened, and what did that do for you? Why did you move on to doing something else?
Yeah, so I really loved the college planning piece when I was at the high school, but it was mostly a 20-minute conversation during junior year. It was, okay, have you taken the SAT yet? What schools are you thinking about? Have you thought about a major? I maybe gave them 1 or 2 recommendations for colleges, and then sometimes I never saw those students again because there were so many other needs at the high school. And so with the college planning piece, I felt like I was very much, here's some basic information, go on your own. And then I had the opportunity to go to a conference in 2017, and I met a woman from Florida who actually was an independent educational consultant, which is my official title. And I was talking with her and realized she did all the fun parts of my job. She went to go on college tours. She went to conferences. She talked to families about college planning. In-depth conversations. She would start with students as early as sophomore year, really helping them know who they were so that they could then know what kinds of schools were a good fit for them, and then transition into helping them actually apply and transition into those schools. And so when I met her, at first I just kind of put in the back of my mind and thought, oh, that's cool, but didn't really think much of it until that summer when my student died by suicide, and I realized that I wanted to get out of the school. So
Is it because you couldn't make enough impact with having 400 cases?
Part of it was the impact, and then also part of it was just not having the time to help on college planning. And so our school was a very high-achieving high school. We had a lot of students going off to college, but I just felt like they were not given great advice for me because I didn't have the time to support them for that. And so during that school year, I started taking a certificate program through the University of California, Irvine on college consulting. I joined a professional organization for independent educational consultants called HECA, and then started transitioning into that role over the summer. So I finished out the school year and then started my business in August of 2018.
Okay. Nice. So a few years in. Yeah. And how has that been for you?
Yeah. So it started off really slow. I think I only had about 3 students my first year. I had a client from a family friend of ours, and then a referral from another coworker who sent one of her students to me. And then actually a family that I worked with at the high school hired me on as an independent counselor. And then the next year, I started getting to know more people in the community. I met other independent consultants who then referred clients to me. So I grew to 12. And then last cycle, I had 24 seniors. So I doubled.
In 2020?
In 2020, yes.
Okay.
And then this year, right now I have 15 seniors, but I've had 7 families reach out to me in the past week. So I'm very hopeful that I will meet or exceed my 24 from last year. Most families do come to me between August and October with applications due October to January typically for senior year cycle. But like I said, I do work with students as early as sophomore year. And so then we can really get started on who they are as people before going into what they want to do and where they should go to college.
Yeah. So when what happens when you run into someone who's just like pure entrepreneur at heart, doesn't want to go to school? What do you tell them?
Yeah, so most of the families that reach out to me, they have a desire for their student to go to college.
Okay.
So I don't really encounter a ton of people who are looking for alternative options.
Yeah.
I offer a free consultation for any family before they start working with me. And so that's something that I would typically suss out during the conversation
sure.
if they were interested in that, giving them some direction on what they could do instead. Because I want to make sure that the families who hire me see the value in what I need and that I can help them meet their needs. Because you're right, not everybody needs to go to college. So my service is more for people who know that they want to and want support through that process.
So what's the benefit of that? Of having someone come in and help a student realize all these things? It's like counseling in a lot of ways?
Yeah. A lot of it is counseling, and it's really helping them figure out what their options are. So I work with a lot of students who may not have been the strongest high school students. They make some Bs, they have some rigor in their schedule, but they're not looking at highly selective institutions, but they want to know what options they have. And also a lot of times families are concerned about the financial piece of paying for college. And so I can help them find colleges that are going to reward them for their hard work. Some colleges are very generous with scholarships and others are not. And so when a family comes to me with a budget that is lower than the national average for tuition, for example, we know to structure our search with those colleges that are going to be generous with the aid that they need as a family.
What about grants? Do you help with that?
Yeah, so grants are typically also going to come from the institution.
Okay.
And so, or from this state. I come from Georgia, and Georgia did not have any need-based aid programs. So that was a different process. We had a very robust merit aid process for the state. But with grants, again, that's kind of embedded in that scholarship grant piece from the institution.
Okay, so say I'm coming to you. I'm a sophomore in high school, and I want to get into graphic design. Let's say that, because that's video. Actually, in high school, I did want to do video game design.
Yeah,
that was that'd be the coolest thing ever if I could get paid to play video games, make video games. And yeah, so how would you help me through that process?
Yeah, so sophomores, I typically help them identify who they are as people, like I've said. So we focus a lot on personality, because personality is important to know what kind of environment you're going to be successful in. If you're an outgoing person, if you're a more introverted person, we also identify your values values, because colleges have values too. And so looking at schools that align with your values, or the students' values in that case, is really going to be helpful for them to flesh out who they are as people.
For sure.
And then I also have all of my students who start as a sophomore go through a career assessment. And so while you may know that this is what I want to do, we want to confirm that you haven't ruled out anything else that would also be a good option. So I never tell a student, hey, you shouldn't study that. But it's more of, hey, have you thought about this? You like graphic design, you like animation, you like video game design. Here's how all of those things merge together in college from a major standpoint. Then we would transition into helping build that list of schools that identify from a major standpoint, but also on the grand fit factors. So grand standing for geography, rigor, activities, natural, and dollar fit. So you would tell me, what kind of geographic elements do you want in your college? Do you want to be close to home? Do you want to have the beach nearby? Do you want to go to a large school, a small school? Politically, are you looking at a religious school? Like, what are those geographic factors? Then what kind of learning environments do you want to have in your college experience? Not just your major, but what about class size, your relationship with your professors, research opportunities, and then looking at activities. Most of my students are really involved when they're in high school, and so we talk about how those activities translate at the college level. Then natural, the vibe of campus. Are you planning to live on campus? Do you want to go to a school that has lots of green space or is environmentally sustainable? And then D being dollar, and looking at your family's budget and the schools that are going to align with that and how you're going to pay the difference.
For sure. And there ways that you can just excel in what you do to get scholarships, I guess. There is ways, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, most of the money is going to come directly from the institution. Only about 6% of scholarships come from outside sources. And so when families come to me and they're like, hey, can you help me find my student find scholarships? We have to redirect them to, okay, here are schools that are going to give your student scholarships. Now, some schools are very transparent on the requirements of scholarships, especially down in the South. They're based on GPA and test score often. So we know before a student even applies, if they are looking at these schools, these are their grades, their test scores, they're automatically going to be awarded $20,000, $17,000 a year. Other schools are less transparent in that, but I have some resources that we can look at historical data to see what kinds of money students received based on their academic profile. And then for students who are creative mindset, whether it's music, art, dance, things like that, some colleges do have art scholarships as well. And then
Not as many though?
Not all of them. And some of them, it's only if you're majoring in that specific program. But some schools, you could be an engineering major and you could also get a $2,000 art scholarship, for example.
Nice.
And then beyond that, I do have resources for outside scholarships, but that kind of comes at the end of the process for me, because I want to make sure that we're spending the most time getting those schools that are going to be financially affordable in the first place, so that the outside awards are kind of just the icing on the cake. They help pay for housing, they help pay for books or things like that. And we're not banking on them since they're often not renewable. It's a one-time award. And so building that into that 4-year budget can be kind of challenging to do.
Oh, yeah, you got to think about all 4 years.
Yeah.
Or however many years it's going to be.
Since the national average is about 5.5 now for schools, and then some colleges, it's closer to 6 or 7. There are some programs, like if you're looking at engineering or architecture, or you're doing a co-op where 5 years is the norm. But a co-op is great because you're working during those semesters, so you're not paying tuition. And so it still is 4 years of school, but over the course of 5 years. So kind of helping families understand how those processes work is another thing I do.
Okay, sweet. So how have you been able, or what are you doing to grow your business? Why do you think you were able to hit that 20 students last year, or however many? What was it?
I had 24 seniors last year. Yeah. So most of my clients actually come through word of mouth, either from past clients or from other consultants. So I just moved to the Colorado Springs area in May. So all of my clients last year were from the Atlanta area, and I had a really strong network of other consultants who would refer clients to me when they were full. Most of my colleagues there do comprehensive only packages, meaning students start during sophomore or junior year, and they work with the counselor throughout the whole process. Whereas I take on a lot more hourly students because I think that there's a niche paid for that.
Hourly students.
So a student who comes to me and they need like 3 hours or 5 hours, or they just want help on one essay or a couple essays, or, hey, we have 5 schools, but we really want to make sure our list is balanced. Can you help us identify a few more? So just with the certain pieces of the process. And so back in Georgia, a lot of my consultant friends did not do that. And so if they had a family come at the last minute, or they had a student who was looking for hourly work to begin with, they would refer clients to me.
Okay.
And so here in the Springs, I'm hopeful to get my feet on the ground. I do have one Colorado client already.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for that, and kind of connecting with people who have high school students, getting in front of people, because like I said, it is word of mouth. That's the most productive way for this business.
Yeah, word of mouth has to start somewhere.
Yeah. And so it took a while for people to start talking about me, especially with like my clients that I worked with for a long period of time. I had 2 of my seniors last year. I started with them as sophomores. And so their parents wanted to see how the whole process went before they started referring people to me. But now I've actually had referrals from both of them. And then I've also been getting a lot of referrals from tutoring companies. So I worked on a project with a big tutoring company in the Atlanta area, and so they have sent several clients my way, and I've connected with 3 tutors so far in Colorado Springs.
With who are they?
So I connected with Jimmy Costa.
Okay.
And then
with Madeline Costa's husband.
Yes,
Okay.
and then I connected with Laura. 2 women named Laura. I don't remember either of their last names. One is with Peak Tutoring and one is with Elevate STEM Tutoring.
Okay.
So Laura from Elevate STEM just started her business in June or July. So also very new. And then she obviously focuses on STEM tutoring. So I definitely...
we talked about STEAM recently, where it adds art into it.
Yes, absolutely.
I thought they were mispronouncing it at first. I was like, you mean STEM? And they're like, no, STEAM. And I was like, that's cool.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
arts is added into it.
Especially, I've seen that a lot with architecture, because there's so much overlap with engineering and architecture from a structural standpoint too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine.
So yeah, who was the other person?
They were both named Laura. I can't remember their last name. One was Laura with a U, and one was Laura without a U.
Okay. Well, you need to get connected with Flo. They run Huntington Learning Academy.
Yeah.
They were on this podcast actually when the wall was blue cloth.
Okay.
It was just blue cloth, blue suede cloth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to look for it, just scroll all the way till you start seeing blue suede cloth.
Okay. Awesome.
Or anyone that's listening to this right now, if you want to check it out after you finish this episode, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that'll actually probably roll perfectly into that. It's like what we're talking about, and it'll just. I'm trying to increase the viewer experience.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and with tutoring companies, it's great because often those families are already investing in their students' education, whether it's for academic tutoring or for SAT, ACT prep tutoring. That's most of the tutors back in Georgia that I connected with, because those families are trying to help their kid with the college process already. And so realizing, there's somebody else who can help us identify college lists or work on essays, and helping my student brainstorm through that process.
And that's good. That adds more value for what they add or do, and adding value is how you get word of mouth.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
That's how you get people talking about you. How you, yeah. That my little throat thing threw me off. I was going to say something.
That's okay.
Yeah. So how have you been able to start that word of mouth? Just networking and getting out there?
Yeah, mostly networking. And then I have a few families who are very excited to refer me to people. So one of my clients this week, she said, "I want to be your one-woman marketing team."
Okay.
She's been scouring like Facebook posts and Nextdoor whenever anyone's asking if they have anybody to recommend for college counseling. And I think I've had 3 people reach out in the past week because of her post.
Wow, she's putting in work.
Yeah,
she is. Is she getting paid?
she is getting a nice present sent her way. But yeah, I've been working with her for the last year and a half.
Nice. Okay, so she just really helps out with helping you grow.
Yeah, because she's just really appreciative of what I'm doing too, and finding value in it. And I think that's what's really, like you were saying, the building value and showing people that you're valuable is how you get people talking about you.
Exactly.
So she, one of my favorite testimonials that I have on my website was actually from her. And she said they went to go visit a school I recommended. And she said, "I can totally see why you recommended this for my son. It's like you saw the inside of our brain." and just really connecting with people to know what they are looking for and helping them find those places that they didn't even know existed.
And that's what your whole world revolves around. Like your whole career revolves around that. So you're in that world. What I mean is you were in that world a lot. And so you know things that other people know just by thinking. We're not even having to search for things. You have things that maybe you have to do a little search, maybe you don't, but you're able to connect dots to other people who aren't in it every day.
Yes, absolutely. And a big way that I do that is through my professional organization. So I'm a member of HECA, which is the Higher Educational Consultant Association. I'm an associate member of IECA, which is the Independent Educational Association, IEC. Independent Educational Consultant Association. Sorry, there's two. And then SACAC, which is the Southern Association of College Admission Counselors. And then I also recently joined RMACAC, which is Rocky Mountain Association of College Admissions Counselors. And so I have a group of colleagues around the world that I can go to if I have questions about specific schools I'm unfamiliar with. But also those professional organizations put on webinars. They host college tours. I'm actually the chair of HECA for the college tour, so helping other counselors go visit schools. I visited 80 colleges pre-COVID between 2017 and 2020 to go know what the college campus actually is like.
Nice.
And then since COVID, I've been on 150 different information sessions for schools. So really understanding what kind of student is going to thrive at certain institutions is something that's so important, and also knowing what is available at those schools. So some of them are schools I'm very familiar with, but I still attend their annual updates because things change in higher ed all the time. So I will be attending an information session next week with University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Augusta University, and Georgia State, because most of my Georgia students are applying to one, if not multiple, of those schools.
So do you do a lot of things virtually?
Yeah, with COVID, a lot of it is virtual. Campuses started to open up this summer, and I'm hopeful to go visit every school in Colorado within the next 12 months. So we will see if that happens.
How many of them are there?
I think when I counted for four-year public and private, it was close to about 15 that I wanted to see.
Okay, that you wanted to see.
Yeah.
There's more?
Okay. Yeah, so there's like some satellite branches and things like that, but those are like the main campuses.
Like the big, like UC, what is it? UCSC?
UCCS. And like UC Boulder and CSU, Mines, U Denver, and places like that.
Nice. Okay, sweet.
So yeah, I'm excited to start touring here.
So what do you think have been some of your biggest challenges that you've had to face or facing right now? That way, I mean, I'm asking this question too. I mean, it could be beneficial for the listeners as well. Maybe they have some solutions for you.
Yeah, I think a big challenge that I faced is just how seasonal my work is, because I do so many hourly consultations. And so with my colleagues who fill up their caseloads with sophomores and juniors, their work is a little more consistent throughout the year. They are still looking at more work in the fall, with deadlines being typically between October and January. But in the winter, if I don't have any comprehensive students in younger classes, then I don't really have a whole lot of work to be doing for those students, which is nice because I can go on these college tours. I can do conferences and webinars and things like that. But I think just like knowing how to structure my time also, because I have to see kids when they're not in school. So that's evenings, that's weekends, that's times like that where it can be challenging to balance.
So maybe you could use
social
a counselor.
Yeah. So it is nice that I do everything virtual. So there's no travel time with my work. And with my Georgia students, they can start as early as 1 o'clock here because they're done at school at 3. So the time difference has been working in my favor.
Nice.
But, still understanding that there are going to be evenings and weekends where I don't get to do anything except for work.
Yeah,
So.
I feel that.
Yeah. So those are kind of the biggest challenges.
For sure. And yeah, so basically it sounds like you could use an assistant.
Possibly in the future. I don't think I'm at a place right now where I really am overloaded
you're just starting
with it.
out
But
right here.
But there are definitely things like with social media, I don't love that. But I know it's important for the role. And so that's something more of like to outsource in the future, or at least getting better at pre-scheduling posts. I go through seasons where I'm like, oh, I'm really great at that. And then there are other times where it's like, oh, I haven't posted anything in a week. So, so I think that's kind of getting in those routines and figuring out how to use my downtime better.
For sure. I've been I've been noticing with me recently with social media, I don't even have to think or try really. It just comes, and I'm posting multiple times a day on different platforms. So it's like doing the podcast allows me to have a lot of content as well. But I'll be just documenting certain things, and just posting it out there. And if I have a thought or an idea, I'm not afraid to post it. Sometimes I'll private the thought if I realized, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
but yeah. So it's just interesting how I've finally got to a point where it's like I'm producing daily content without even having to. It's like a habit. It's a habit. It's a routine, or it's just a habit. I built that in there, so that's made it a lot easier. But I would like to post. I haven't done any. Like, that's all my personal stuff. That's all my personal stuff, which is part of my brand too.
Yeah.
But like my Behemoth Visuals social media has been lacking. Like that one does not have daily content.
Yeah.
But I would like for it to have that, just because I know how powerful that is, being in front of people's faces. First of mind, top of mind marketing, kind of, in a way. So that's kind of content marketing.
Yeah.
And I believe in that, and I know it works, and I've gotten results from it. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Just explaining my process right now with social media. So yeah, do you have when you go to schedule out the post, do you have like a strategy you do?
I have a few things that I post, like Monday motivation. I post a motivational quote for that. I've been adding some Tuesday testimonials.
Nice.
So I have some. I don't want to do that every week because I feel like that can be a little obnoxious at times.
For sure.
And then I was last week or a couple weeks I've done like Wednesday wisdom from books that I've been reading about higher education and college planning and things like that. So kind of having those like more hashtag kind of things.
Yeah. Those
to
are
make it a
definitely
little
hashtags
consistent.
that are very popular on Twitter.
Yeah.
Specifically.
Yeah. So, and I do have Twitter. I don't use it very often. That's probably the one I use the least. And then I have Facebook and Instagram integrated if there's a picture associated with it. But a lot of what I've posted in the past when I was more active on social media was higher education news. And I think when COVID first started, there was so much of it that things were changing all the time. And it was still new and fresh and like exciting to hear about the changes. And now it's like things are happening every single day and and it's getting a little overwhelming. I think people are kind of like overhearing about how schools are going back and forth on their decisions and things like that. And I also kind of, with it being a little more polarizing, I don't really want to post anything too polarizing. I want families to find everything that I post is informative. And so if it's relevant to the schools that my students are looking at, then that's one thing. But if it's more of like national trends, then that's also, I think, helpful for them to just be mindful of what's happening.
No, for sure. Definitely always a good idea. Yeah. So yeah, is there, before we start wrapping up, is there anything you'd like to promote today?
Oh, goodness. So I just launched a new service for my students. So like I said, most of my families come to me in the last minute. They're stressed about the process. They don't know what they're doing. And so I'm offering this year an application management process where families can get a 30-minute call where we set up deadlines. We set up a calendar, everything that your student has to have done for their school. So sending their transcripts, sending their test scores if they're not applying as a test optional student, if their recommendations, if their essays and things like that. And then for each month that they can do the first semester or they can go through May, each month they would get a 15-minute check-in session with me that they can ask any questions that they have. And they'll also be added to my monthly information that I send out to all of my clients of, hey, it's September. This is what you need to make sure you have done. Hey, this is October. Make sure you complete the FAFSA or the CSS profile for your applications. And so more of that, not necessarily for students who need to write 5 or 6 essays for schools, but more of just, hey, I want to make sure I'm doing everything I need to do and checking all the boxes and having someone else confirm, like, yes, you checked the boxes.
Yeah.
So that's my new service. So like I said, it can go through
love
now
that
till
service.
December or now through May. So
Okay.
depending on what your needs are, since a lot of college deadlines are in that fall semester, I'm giving families that option, but having it through May gives you the option to make sure you've signed up for orientation, you've registered for housing, if you have questions about the classes you wanted to take, or if you should send your AP scores or not, or if you did dual enrollment, how those could translate into college credit. So just giving families a little bit more, or for families who, they're applying to schools in the second semester because they want those fall grades to be posted on the transcript.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think what you do for the students, like I could use that in my business.
Yeah.
Like that package that's like if like that. I'm not saying that you have your niche, you
Yeah.
have your thing, but I mean that's what a good business coach I would hope would do.
Yeah, the project management piece.
A project
too.
management piece, yeah, like making sure that I'm hitting things. Hey, you haven't done this yet. Hey, there's these things that could be done. Like that would be something very helpful for me, I think.
Yeah.
And you explaining that process made me realize that. So business coaches, I'm about to get like 1,000 emails. Yeah. That sounds like a good idea that I might apply into my business.
Yeah, so we'll see. I haven't had anyone reach out because like I said, I just launched it this week. So we'll see. Gonna do some social media posting about it.
Do you have a
next
title
week.
for it?
It's just application management right now. It may turn into something catchier, but but yeah.
Yeah, do like a campaign on it or something like that. Some kind of catchy thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So where can people find you at?
So I am on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and then my website is grandfiteducation.com.
Okay.
So most of my Twitter is grand_fit, but then Facebook and Instagram are grandfit education.
Okay, sweet. Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. All right. So this has been the COS of Business podcast, and we'll see you guys on the next one. That was exactly 30 minutes.